So the wire wheel is really good. You've got to be able to sort of see what's going on underneath the paint. So I strip all the paint off of the wire wheel, and it pretty much removes any rust anyway. It pokes holes and everything. So yeah, so we've got a little bit of rust on this curve here on the inside, and on the outside there all the way along there, so it's all going to come out. So I'm just going to basically insert a whole strip along there, shape that way. Okay, upon closer inspection, this panel here needs to be repaired first, then I can do the torque box, because this panel actually runs underneath that torque box, and the rust stops just behind where the torque box intersection is. So to do that, I've got to remove this end cap, which is a good thing anyway, because it'll allow me to get inside there and have a good look around. And so this is a bit of a pain. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 spot welds there, probably 3 here. Don't know what's going on underneath because I haven't got down on the ground yet, and we've got 3 here. So it's quite a solid piece of steel. I presume it's going to give me a hard time getting it off, but anyway, that's the way it is. It's got to come off. And yeah, then it'll allow me to do that, and then that. Oh, awesome. Okay, got that off. That was a bit of a process. But we're looking good inside. So inside there it's all nice. Don't know if you can see much in there. But yeah, no, really happy with that. And inside that little box inside there, it's all good. So I can replace that section, and then I can cover over the top. Had a little bit of holiness appear up there. These are pretty good for finding rust. That was just one little hole, and I thought, oh, I'll chase that with a MIG, but thought I'll give her a hit with a wire brush and see what happens. And, yeah, so that's what came out. So there's another little patch in there. Come on. Just can't hold it.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. And then come on.
yeah, so it's still got a few holes here to fill, and that's pretty much it. Just got to do this section in here and along the sill, just along here. So. Just on this section here, there was a few rust holes. What I did, I just decided to chase them, and I just kept chasing them, welded them up, and ground it off, and she's good as new. Now try and chase this. I'm going to replace that section because that's all badly rusted, but we've got these little holes here. I'm just going to try and chase them back, see, you know, see how you still need to. No, I can replace that. If I can chase them and fix them, that'll be good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Grind it back and have a look, eh? The good thing that has happened by doing that is I've actually built up this edge. That was particularly thin, so I've built that right up, and that's quite hard and it's quite thick there. So now what I can do, I can cut this piece out along there. Okay, so something like that. And I'll just cut a little patch in here, which means I can use that edge. I don't have to, because it's quite a, you know, important shape. So I'll just put a patch in there and there, and I'll leave that edge there. So yeah, my little experiment had some benefits. I've run out of those spot weld unpickers, you know, the little drill bits. So I've got 1, 2, 3, there's probably one there, 5 I'd say. 5 spot welds that need to be removed, so I'm just going to grind them off. It's easy to get to. There was a piece I cut out, had all those rust holes in it. Oh, beautiful. Just a slight bend in this piece here. So it's not much of a bend, but it's actually wider than the mouth of my vise. So you always run the risk of buckling a little bit. Ah, had to do a bit of chasing there, but that's okay. It looks pretty good from the outside, so that'll grind off nicely. Yeah, that's pretty good. Gonna put some filler over that one. Sort of warped a little bit out of shape, but I think it sort of sucked it in there. So I'll have to fill that. This is actually seen when you open the front door. I've got these pieces here which need to be replaced, and the piece up there. And then that's this side totally done. That's been removed and repaired. Yep. Oh, the rust repair and beside there and behind there is all done. That's all good. It's all solid still now. So I'll zoom out and take a look. Now, before I forget, while I've got the wire brush on the grinder and I'm in welding mode, you just want to do yourself a little favour. Look, 90% of these bloody, the scuff rails that you screw on next from inside these sill, whatever they're called. I think they're called scuff rails or whatnot. You got 4 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now normally they're all blown out and sort of shredded. People have put bigger screws in them, and these don't look like they're too bad. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean them off, and I'm going to just put a little spot of MIG weld in each hole just to fill them up a little bit. If I fill too much, that's okay, I'll just drill them out. But yeah, it's a pain when you buy these. Well, see, I've cleaned up my scuff rails, but it's a pain when you've got a beautifully painted car. 9 times out of 10 people buy the aftermarket ones, they're brand new, they look fantastic, and you go to screw them in and your screws just keep popping out. What a pain in the butt that is. You go to all that effort. Yeah, so I'm going to replace that section and that section there, and then I'm just going to grind those off flat. I've just tapped them with a little bit of MIG. Fill them up a little bit. Tried to leave a bit of a hole there, so some sort of pilot type hole, but it doesn't matter. I'll just re-drill them totally. God, I always forget to turn the gas on. Yeah, that's shit out. I have to grind those off. It's not very tidy, but it should clean down alright. But boy, first weld of the morning, never the best. Okay, that's not a bad repair. It's going to need a little bit of filler in there, but it's all new steel. That's the most important thing. So yeah, pretty happy with that. You can see the little welds that I've done through the scuff plate holes. Just filled them up a little bit. Made sure I've left a bit of a hole. These are an elongated hole from the factory. I guess that's just for a bit of adjustment. But yeah, I'm just going to, if they're in slightly the wrong position, I'll just drill them out. Nothing worse than having brand new scuff plates on a beautiful car and the friggin' screws keep pulling out. It's unnecessary. So that's I've learnt that over the course of time. Shit weld. It's like I'm out of gas. For some reason that MIG was playing up on me a little bit. Left me with some craters, like little crater holes. They weren't like all the way through, but it was like, I don't know, it was like trying to weld without gas. Anyway, so I just tacked them, filled them, going to grind them off and see. I'm going to have to use filler on this area anyway because it's all seam, but it's all solid steel, it's great. Okay, so I've just pushed the car over to the other side of the shed, giving me a bit of room, well mainly to keep, because underneath those blankets there I've got all the air conditioning stuff and whatnot. I've got a fire extinguisher which I'll bring out here and I'll leave it beside the MIG. A little bit, yeah, this side of the shed is a little bit flammable under with that blanket there and you know, all the insulation and whatnot, so I just have to be careful. Yeah, so I've pushed the car over the other side of the shed, give me some room, and going to attack this side. I've got some great ideas to replace all of this along here. See, we've got rust holes in there, and it's pretty scruffy all the way along, plus the metal's thin and flaky. So I'm probably going to try and re-engineer this whole top lip. Got an idea for that. I just want it to look all nice and new again. And yeah, so it's you know, it's just one thing at a time. So I'm onto this section. We've got rust in there. We've got rust around on the base there. This is all rotten and gone in there. Of course, I'll try and just block this some. Yeah, so down there is really bad. All the way down to the bottom. There's holes there. All the way to the bottom. The sill extension is still okay. I'll have a good poke around, but I'll check it out. I've hit it with a screwdriver and hasn't popped through. So the same story with this one. I'm going to have to remove this end plate to get in and repair that rust in there. So this end plate's got to come off so I can actually access that. This top hinge has got to come off. And same story. You know, we've got a little bit of rust in that gutter there, but it's not too bad. I'm going to just clean that right out, and I'll POR 15 the whole gutters anyway. It's pretty good in there, but in here it's really bad. So same story as the other side. All right, so onwards and upwards. This side's a lot easier because it's higher, and I don't have the access problems like I did on the other side. It's so much higher, so we don't have to do any sort of bending steel out of the road to access it. Yeah, we've got a hole in behind. Yeah, in behind there, a series of holes actually. So yeah, so I'm going to remove this whole cowling or whatever it is. That's for the internal vent. I remove that, and there is some screws which I need to be careful of. There's 3 screws or bolts under there which are located. You can see it there. So I have to be careful with them and make sure they remain in the same position. Hi guys, this is the 3rd attempt at my post-Christmas greeting to you guys. It's 26th of December 2018, Boxing Day. I've just dropped Ethan home for an overnighter with his mum. He'll stay with me till pretty much the end of my holidays, which is around about the 14th, 14th of Jan. I'm wanting to do a fair bit in the shed, but I'm mindful that I just hate being down here if he's sitting up in the house playing Xbox. It's not parenting. Xbox is just a babysitter. So I don't like to do that. Well, I do like to go out and do things. We're probably going to scoot over to Kiwiland for about 4 or 5 days and spend some time with my dad. Christmas for me is a bit lonely actually, because all my family's in New Zealand and it's just me and the boy here. So yeah, it's a little bit lonely. So I do like to, and especially for Dad, he's getting old, and I do want Ethan to have as much time with his granddad as possible. And yeah, so I'm going to try and get out to the shed as much as I can. In fact, I'm going to try and get Ethan down here just to work with me a little bit on sort of easy stuff, and just give him some little tasks, some little projects, just to get him off the Xbox really. He's not really, he's not much of a fan of the shed. He gets pretty bored with it all, but he has got an XB up there in his shed, up in another shed there, which is bloody mint really. It's in good nick. I've had the car for about 4 or 5 years, but I finally sort of got him on the thinking that we'll put a 351 in it, top loaded gearbox, which I've got there. He won't be able to drive it until he's 21, but that's okay. It'll probably take we'll start it when he's around about 18 anyway, so it's going to take about 3 years to build anyway. I'd have to find a GT dash, a GT bonnet, grille, and maybe a centre console. Yes, definitely centre console. So yeah, those are the 4 things I'd need to find for it anyway. They'll take a couple of years to source and do that. And yeah, so hopefully that he knows that he's got to do the bulk of the work on that. I'll certainly work with him whenever he's here, and I'll probably do work when he's not here. But it'll be a great car for him. At 21, he's a pretty responsible kid. So you're a gentle kid. You're a good kid. I love you. Anyway, so hopefully that we can get onto that together, and he turns 14 soon, so got about 4 years to start thinking about that car. And this car, I'll hopefully have it finished by next Christmas. So that's Christmas 2019, ready for New Year's 2020. Yeah, 2020. So yeah, a little bit, and this will. I don't want to sell this car. I had to sell the last one, so I don't want to sell this one, and it'll be a good cruiser. So. Okie dokie. So what we're going to do on this one is, it's really bad in here. It's bad in behind here. So yeah, it's really bad in there, and this whole thing needs to be rebuilt. It's bad in behind here. I just can't get in there to fix it. So what I'm going to cut the whole section out around there, in an area where I can actually access it with a grinder and clean it up and make it look beautiful again. So I'm just going to cut the whole section out and repair it on the bench, rebuild it, and do it that way, because that seems to be a hell of a lot easier than trying to fix it in there. And I've got to do all of this work anyway on the side, so yes, I'll cut it out, fix it, weld it back in, and then I'll continue with the rest of the repairs. So I had to go to the tool shop the other day to get some more spot weld removers, the little interchangeable heads there, and of course over time you're continually bloody breaking the little drill bits, and I wouldn't believe how many times I've had to go and buy a new drill bit set because I have lost the little ones. So I was pretty delighted to find they sell like from about, I think it's about 1 mil or 1.5 mil up to about 3.5 mil. I've already scratched the line in around there just so I can relocate in the exact same spot. So we've got a fair bit of activity, as my friend Pete would say. Activity. Well, I call it cancer. Peter calls it activity. So I might just have to replace part of that. Yeah, just maybe on that bottom edge there. So that's good. I've got a heap of filler and whatnot in there. Okay, so this now has to come off. So there's 6 that I can see. Great, that'll be easy to rebuild. And now, so will that. Awesome. See, there is a lip. I've put an internal lip in there, which I'm going to recreate. Stops the water dripping down. Okay, so we've got a little bit of warpage in that, but straighten that out when we go to tack it back into place. Alright guys, so we're progressing reasonably okay on this. I've actually just come back from New Zealand. I've been overseas, so it's my first day back in the shed. This is looking pretty rough and ready, but God, there's no gaps in it. I've checked it against my lights, and it's just really tricky bloody work, and some parts of the steel are really thin, so I've had to do a bit of chasing on it. It's all in all, it's not bad. This is where the bolts, or sort of the machine screws actually have to attach to this for the vent. I'm going to tack that on in a minute. This, it's really hard to get in there to that weld there with the grinder. I'm just going to leave it because that was a blowout, and so it's got a lot of steel in there, so it's nice and thick. I'm just going to POR 15 it, clean it up and POR 15 it. It's close enough. This is the piece that needs to go over. So it's supposed to go over like that. See, I've drilled out the spot welds there. It's supposed to go over there. We do have this rust area there that needs to be replaced. What I'm going to do is, rather than put it on that way and fill those spot welds in, I'm just going to flip the whole thing upside down, tack it on, just weld it on, not all the way around, just in spots, and replace that edge. It's easier, and then I'll just drown it in POR 15. It doesn't matter if water creeps under the weld, because we've got this lip here, which is designed to prevent water dropping down into the box. I might even shoot a bit of seam seal around the inside there, which it did have. So inside that edge there, it had seam sealer in there. I might do that actually, but I'll POR 15 it first and then drop some seam sealer in there. and that'll stop any hope of water ever climbing up into the interior of the car. That's the easiest way to do this. I mean, I'm sick of messing around on this. It's taking for hours. Well, I've got to finish here, guys. It's a bit rough and ready, but once again, it's underneath the plenum cover. You're never ever going to see this. So I've just decided to tack that on. I didn't replace there was a lip that ran all the way around that riser. There was a lip around it, which was spot welded in place. I've eliminated it because it was all rotten anyway, and there's no point in replacing it. So I've just tacked that riser in place with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 welds around it. On the bottom here, I haven't repaired that. I just tacked it back on. That was basically pointless fixing that. The most important things were these three screws, or three machine screws really. 3 threaded screws. So I've just tacked there, each side of those 3 important screws. Didn't worry about tacking it there. That's all rusty there, but I'm not going to fix that. There's no point. It's inside the cab. Okay, so I'm going to tack that in place. I'm not going to tack on this edge though, because I'm going to try and scallop it down so we've got runoff on this side as well. Originally there's no runoff on the left hand side. All the runoff goes to the right, to the driver's side. So I'm going to try and scallop this down a little bit, shape it down so that the water actually runs off this side in this section here, just to expel as much water as possible. I'll show you what I mean later. Okay, as you can see, there's been a fair bit of shifting of the sand, so to speak. Got a big gap here, which I'm going to actually probably fill when I replace this, so I'll not worry about that. I'll not weld that. This is what I was trying to achieve here. I'm going to cut this down so we've got runoff on this side. This is what I was sort of aiming for. If you can see that, you'll get it. So I just want that to run off. Oh shit, actually I've got to be careful. Might not be able to do that, because what it's going to do, it's going to drop the height of the vent. Now that could clash with the heater box, so I'm going to have to lift this up. Okay, so I've got that all tacked in. I don't want to grind too much off because it's not going to get seen and I don't want to thin out the metal, so I'm going to leave that pretty high. Just going to POR 15 the whole weld, and leave it as it is. So it's all good. So I've got a now, as you can recall, on the other side we had to start down low at the bottom and work our way up to this section here, so I could cap this off to this section here. So, well, I think I've got a problem with my MIG, but over the last couple of days it's just not performing. It's I don't know what's wrong with it. And it's just spits and bloody cracks and crackles and throws shit everywhere. The welds are as ugly as buggery. I just don't know what's going on with it. I put a new, so I don't know much about welders. I put a new tip on there and cleaned all this out, and there's codes, and you've got to go online and download the page and print it out, and the codes don't really help you too much anyway. Well, they'll probably help a welder, but I'm not a welder, and I don't know much about them. When it's working well, it feels great, and the welds are neat. I am low on gas. I've probably only got about 300 pounds left. Yeah, there's only about 300 pounds left. So I'll get a new gas bottle tomorrow, but for the last 2 days, it's just not been good. As you can see, I've had to do some pretty major work on this side. I've replaced, I took that off so I could access that. So down there, so I've accessed that, got that done, gone up the top and done the actual top shape, inserted a piece there, and then this piece here with a fold on it, and I've just tacked that. I haven't sort of drilled it and spot welded it. I can't be bothered doing that because it's too close to the flange or too close to the fold. Yeah, so it's all brand new steel, so that's a good thing. Good morning, guys. It's Wednesday the 9th of January 2019. Just going to sort of fill you in on what's been going on here. The welder's really been playing up on this side. I think it's because I'm low on gas. So I've got all of the steel in here replaced. That weld is really horrible. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but because it's under the garden, I'll just POR 15 it. That one is done as well. The good news is I've just gone down and picked up a new bottle, and the welder seems to have settled down. The weld seems to be good. So now I just need to adjust it all back down to sort of a slower wire speed, cooler temperature, and really try and fine tune it right in again. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut across here and replace the bottom section and all this butcher's stuff in here, and then there's a strip up there that I want to replace as well, but the metal's got two different profiles there, so it's quite a sophisticated shape. So I'm probably just going to patch it in little sections, patch across there to there, and then another one. Yeah, I'll just fit it all in so it sort of works. Okay, so we've got this end finished here. It's pretty rough and ready, but it's okay. All new steel. Haven't cleaned those welds up yet, but they're really tricky to get to. I've just spot welded down there. This is all new steel in here, and across the bottom, of course. So and across the bottom of that. So she's time-consuming, this stuff, eh? So it's strong. It's all solid steel. It's not thin. There's no sort of. I've been really careful not to leave thin metal. So all I've got to do now is do these holes along here. That's okay along there. I think there might be another little piece. Oh yeah, there is another little piece down the other end. And then I've cleaned all this up. Going to POR 15 the whole thing and let that dry. Start onto the cover. So, she's been a big job, been the best part of a month, Righty-ho, this side's all finished. Yeah, we've got this done. I was trying to figure out what this little hump in here was for. Now I'm tipping it's actually a diversion. So water that is in the plenum on that side goes that way, water goes this way. So that's what I think that's for. And I was going to start POR 15ing, but I've still got a little bit of welding and grinding to do over that other side, so I'll do that first and then I'll POR 15 the whole thing. There you go.
This is hard. Is that still going or is it off?
No, it's off, mate. Yeah, it's fucking...
That,
it's been fucking weeks, mate, weeks. And the thing is, oh, you know, cheers, man. Because it's like...
You got on it?
Yeah, I got one down. Because you've got to just fucking... There's so many different angles and shapes and whatnot.
Shit, is it?
Yeah.
I bought it from Sigma.
Yeah, I've seen that. Fucking hell. It's classic.
But I put a little hair dryer on it and make something fun out of it.
What, put a turbo on it?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell that guy. Haven't done a turbo on the channel.
No.
I did one years ago. And I put a turbo on that and I killed everything. It was great.
Really?
Yeah.
That'll be good fun.
Oh, it was a shit
Yeah.
pickles.
Yeah, I've watched it and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I was going to make a comment on it.
Oh, everyone's made a comment. I don't break neck seat is everything just turns to shit with it.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
It is hard. The XW was easy. The
Yeah.
XW's
That's, I'm finding that with this.
yeah.
I'm finding exactly that. The XW just fell together, really. It wasn't hard. I mean, mind you, I did longer hours on it, but the hours were productive.
Yeah, but also, it was your first one. That sort of kept you going.
Yeah, true.
You get to your second one, you find bullshit.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at these fucking door cards. Eh?
I bought the seat as well. If you'll look at that later, there's no hurry.
What?
The back seat.
Oh, yeah.
I'll leave it up at the house or something if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
These door trims, I had to buy another 4, but I just bought the 2 front ones. So, bit of cross promotion we're here with Jason.
Shameless cross promotion.
He's lifting it.
Yeah, go 50 mil on that. And also at the front bar, company called Rhino.
He's serious, yeah. This thing. Sure we got that so it looks like it's level.
Yeah. That's a good thing with the rotisserie though. You just bloody,
you can reach everything.
Yeah, you can reach right across to the centre there.
Yeah.
Jeez, don't focus too close on that, mate. People will be commenting on the welding skills.
I'll just cut that bit out.
Yeah.
So these are the door trims.
These are the door. So we only really need the buckles from those,
Yeah,
don't
straight, but if there's stuff, I've got the other ones.
No, we were down 4 buckles, weren't we?
Yeah,
That's all
yeah.
well, there's all the other ones there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if he shot through it or she shot through it, but
Whatever the case, the fella came out there.
front corner here, so what I was
Yeah,
thought.
you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that now and I wouldn't know. You won't see.
You won't see it. No, it's under the guard. And it's surprising how much adjustment you've got with your guards. You know, your front guards and your
Oh,
doors.
there's heaps.
Yeah.
You're like this.
You know,
Gee, this is a big job. Unfortunately, I didn't have to do that,
hey, you haven't done a plenum before.
No, I don't have to. Mine's clean.
Yeah.
Mine's decent. That's got rust in it on the left.
Uh-huh.
But
Oh shit! I knew there was a big problem when I first got the car. I thought, oh, I can wet it down, see what happens.
and you got inside.
Fuck yeah. And I'm surprised the floors haven't rusted. This was an outside car.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that recording?
Oh, it is. I'll edit that. Edit it. Now I'm not sure if you can see. It's quite dark outside. It's got the spotlight on it. Now, this contour here goes down quite aggressively. All of that steel's missing, so I've got to replace all of that. But that steel goes down quite aggressively, and it actually clashes with the new steel that I've put in behind there. Got an old donor out the back there. I'll go and have a look and see tomorrow when it's light, just to see if the front guard, where the front guard sort of comes into contact or sits in around this area, because I might have to, like this is just sitting there, I might actually have to heat that area there and just tap it in a little bit, just to just so that this, see that cover isn't, I can't get it against the dashboard. It's sitting out by about 10 mil because it's clashing there. What I was going to do was weld that once I finished the rust repair on, which you can't see in the camera, along the bottom edge here. I'll show you that. Yeah, so once I actually have to cut that whole lip off because it's all rotten and it's all bent when I was taking it off. We've got rust in there, pretty bad rust, so I'll have to rust repair in there. So that whole flange has to come off, which is a real pain in the butt because it's cosmetic, it gets seen, so my welding has to be spot on, and the thing is, because it's an inside corner, it's going to be really a real mongrel to grind. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll have to cut that shape, and I'll tack it in 3 or 4 places along there and flip it up the other way and weld it from the back, and then just run some filler or something along, on the top side, clean it up, and I get pretty good penetration now with the welder. It's going good again. So yeah, so that whole lip has to come off. But back to this. Yeah, back to this here. So once I'll cut that lip off, and I'll bugger it. What I'm going to do, I'm not even going to check. I'm going to heat that, and I'm just going to tap it in so that I can get this sitting snug against the dashboard, and that'll ensure that steel's right out of the road, and then I can follow that. That steel just overlaps over there and comes onto there, so it'll look bloody good actually. It won't really be noticeable. Got a few rust repairs in here. Just in here, we've got some holes. All that's pretty rusty in there, so patch that. We've got the same on the other side, in this section here, which is underneath that bracket, so it's obviously been rusting away under that bracket, because there would have been a fair bit of heat in that area there. So all those spot welds and whatnot have heated it up. Let's see, this is a good test. Yeah, so we have to go back. Yeah, 10 mil. See, that's a good thing with these spot welds. You can actually line it up. So this is telling me that it's got to go back 10 mil there, and there's 10 mil there. So that's great. So the whole thing will go back. And yeah, so we're starting to thinking about putting it all back together now, which is great. I've finished basically the internals. I've got one more little piece to weld just in this corner here. But yeah, so I was hoping to have this whole thing finished tomorrow night, but I don't think I will, because it takes about 24 hours for the POR 15 to dry. But I've got plenty of work on it. There's a day just on this plenum cover. So I'm pretty happy now. Anyway, that's it for the night. I'm going in. It's about 10:30. Alright, so we've got this plenum all finished off now. It's rough and ready, but you always weren't going to expect too much from me, I'm sure. This section here has got many different shapes and angles and leans and whatnot on it. So what I have to do is I need to actually cut steel and actually fabricate a piece that actually sits beautifully on there all the way along, right through, because that makes up the bottom of the plenum cover, which needs to be replaced. camera's in the road, so I can't get it. I have to turn my back on you. I think I can afford to actually take this down because it doesn't appear that I'm going to be having to take this off until after I've finished, so I might just tack that corner. Got a little round notchy thing there, so fill that in. In hot. Bloody hot outside. Getting tired. It's only, I don't know, it's probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something, but jeez, it's hot. I'm climbing in and out of that car, that engine bay, because it's up on the rotisserie. It's higher again. You know, not a young man anymore. And it's sort of work smart, not stupid. So I've done the worst of it. Just going to flip the car down a little bit and work from this side now. And it's pretty plain sailing now. So, anyways. Don't know if you can see these under here. that's the old spot welds. I have to actually grind them off level. Okay, done. So there we have it. That's the shape. Quite a technical piece, but I'll clean all that up in a minute. But okay, I have to cut this off, but I have to be really careful that I don't go too close to the plenum. There is some rust that needs to be fixed, but I'll patch that in later. I just want to get the worst of that lip off. Okay, so I've left the just the bend part where the lip begins. I can trim it back with the grinder, but like I say, I've still got to fix these rust holes and things. There's rust along there, so I've got to fix all that. But I didn't want to take too much off because my biggest fear is that it sits too low onto the cover. So I'd rather have it up high because I think if well, not high, but you know, closest to original position, because if it goes too low, you're going to have a problem with the scuttle not meeting up with the bonnet closing. I guess there is a little bit of adjust in that scuttle tray. You've got the screw hole here. You can pack that up, I guess, you know, if I do go too low, if it does go too low. But the thing I need to do is need to dummy fit it now and determine, I'm going to have to heat those corner bits up and bang them down a bit so that this doesn't clash, because I need to repair all of that. Okay, I've dummy fitted that, the plenum cover, and just with black texture I've just marked where it looks like it's going to be clashing. So I'm just going to heat that in there and just tap it down a little. I don't want to, you know, affect the contour of the windscreen, where the windscreen is up there. So I'll just heat that area and just tap it down and see what happens. If it doesn't want to go down easily, I'll just redirect the plenum cover over the top of it so it sits nice and flush. Still wants more. It's a bit better. What I'll do is I'll cut out a little bit up there, and yeah, I'm going to redirect it a little bit, I think. I really don't think it's too important. Doesn't seem to clash with the door or the front guard, so I can afford to just cut down there, and just so I can sit that against the windscreen and keep patching. Ooh, pretty hot. So I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then I'll get back to you. I'm just going to give it a squirt down with this metal prep. It etches the steel and gets rid of all that rust. Okay, thought it was warm. This stuff's drying off. You're not supposed to actually let it dry off. You're supposed to keep it wet, but it's too bad. This is water. Yeah, it's 33 degrees outside, Celsius, so it's what, roughly about 91.4 degrees Fahrenheit for you new SA people. Yeah, a bit warm, so 33 inside. Outside, so inside the shed with a tin roof, it's got to be about 4 or 5 degrees more. It's quite warm. Still not one of those blistering hot days, but warm enough. I'm going to wash this off now. I don't have running water down in the shed here, so squeegee bottle, that's all we've got. So there we go, we're all done, all beautifully POR 15'd, even got in there, nice inside there. That whole seam looks fantastic now. That's a bit of a giveaway, that seam. You see a dodgy restoration, that seam's always rusty or bogged up or whatnot. So there we go, all good down there, ready for the cover. There you go. Looking great. Oh, she's hot. Of course, POR 15'd it, and I've still got to weld the top on. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you paint it, whether you POR 15 it. There's no choice. I've treated it. Okay, now I'm gonna have to weld that cover on. That's going to burn the POR 15 away. Hopefully I can get my arm up there with a paintbrush and get it back into, you know, where it's burnt away. But that is better than nothing at all. Sure, I'm going to burn the POR 15 away from where I spot weld it back on, but that's life. There's no alternative. It's better to do it than not. And yeah, so that's just life. That's the way it's got to be. So anyway, I'll let that dry. We go inside and have a bit of a wash. It's bloody hot and sweaty. Let that dry, come out, give it a second coat, and then I'll start on to fixing up the cover. We're almost there. Yeah.